Okay, so today we're just going to be talking about lines that have a special relationship, lines that are parallel and perpendicular. Last time in class we talked about the slope of lines, and we're going to relate that today to the slope of parallel lines and the slopes of perpendicular lines. Okay, so just a couple of definitions. We know that two lines are parallel if they have the same slope, which should make sense, because if two lines are parallel, that means they are never ever going to intersect each other. So that means they are rising and running at the same rate. So the ratio of their rise to their run would be the same thing. All right, so two lines are parallel if their slopes are the same. Now let's look at perpendicular. Perpendicular is a little bit trickier. Two lines are perpendicular when they meet to form a right angle, but they have a special relationship with their slopes as well. Their slopes are what you call negative reciprocals of each other. Okay, now if we have, this is my example that I'm going to go with for just a second. If we have 1/2, oh my goodness, can you tell I don't have my stylus with me? The negative reciprocal of 1/2 would be flipping the numbers 2/1 and then changing the sign. 1/2 is positive, so I would make this one negative. We're not really in a habit of writing 2/1 or any whole number over 1, so we just would write that as -2. So 1/2 is the negative reciprocal of -2, and -2 is the negative reciprocal of 1/2. So let me erase that ugliness. Goodness gracious. All right. So, a couple of ways that you can test it. Either you recognize that one, you find both slopes and one is the negative reciprocal of the other. You can flip the slope of one upside down, change the sign, and you get the slope of the other one. Another trick is to take the two slopes and multiply them together. And if you get -1, then you know those two lines are perpendicular, because the two slopes are the negative reciprocal of each other. So just a little trick to remember. All right, let's do some problems, shall we? All right, it says, tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So what we're looking for is the slope of both lines, and then we're going to compare them. All right, so let's find the slope of line 1, which I'm going to label as M subscript 1. Okay, so that's going to be the difference in y's, -4 minus 1, over the difference in x's. I really do apologize for this sloppiness. That is my handwriting. Okay, so -4 minus 1 is -5. And 0 plus a +3 would be 3. Okay, now let's find the slope of line 2. That would be 6 minus -2, which turns to plus positive. And then on the bottom, it would be 1 minus a -6. So that would be plus positive also. So 6 plus 2 would be 8. 1 plus 6 is 7. Okay, when I compare the two slopes that I have here, -5/3 and 8/7, they're not the same, so the two lines are not parallel. I can't take this fraction, flip it upside down, and change the sign and get that one. So therefore, these two lines, there's nothing really special about them. I don't mean to hurt their feelings, but they are neither. Eventually, at some point, those two lines will intersect, and it will not intersect to form a right angle. All right, let's look at example 2. Line 1, let's find the slope of that guy. So be M sub 1 is 1 minus 2 over 6 minus 4, which would be -1 over 2, -1/2. Okay, now I'm just going to do the same thing with the second slope. So be, or second line, -1 minus -3 all over 4 minus 3. So up top that turns to plus positive. Negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2 over 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay, so now we're going to compare our slopes. Negative 1/2, 2 over 1. I can take this one, flip it upside down. That gives me 2 over 1. Change the sign, negative from positive, and yes, those two lines have to be perpendicular because the slopes are the negative reciprocal. I can also do the test where I take the two slopes and multiply them together. Negative 1/2 times 2 over 1. And if I get negative 1, then the lines are perpendicular. And indeed, I get negative 1. So the two lines are perpendicular. Or if you wanted to use your symbol from geometry last year, you could just write the symbol. Upside down T. All right, example 3. My money is on that they're parallel, but we'll see. All right, slope of line 1 is 5 minus 6 over 4 minus 3. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. 4 minus 3 is positive 1, which would be negative 1. Slope of line 2 would be 1 minus 2 over 0 minus a negative 1, which would turn to plus positive. So that's going to be negative 1 over positive 1, which is negative 1. And I was right. Those two lines are parallel. I should go to Vegas. All right. So you can write out parallel or draw the symbol. Look at that. Okay. Let's see what else we got to do here. So we just saw an example of two lines that are parallel, two lines that are perpendicular, and two lines that are neither. Now, this is a fun little problem. It says find the value of K so that line B will be parallel to line A. So I've got this unknown right here. Okay, so I've got to think about all the information that I'm given. The two lines are parallel, which means that their slopes, slope of line A is going to be equal to the slope of line B. Okay, from there I can set up the two ratios equal to each other. Okay, so I'm going to start with the slope of line A. It's 7 minus negative 3, which turns to plus positive, over K, some unknown, minus 2. That ratio has to be equal to, since the two lines are parallel, the slope of line B, which is 2 minus 4 over 0 minus 2. Okay, let's just simplify. 7 plus positive 3 would be 10 over K minus 2 equals 2 minus 4 is negative 2 over 0 minus 2 is negative 2 again. Okay, so I can make that. I'm running out of room here, so I'm going to erase that and make negative 2 over negative 2 be negative 1. Oops. Okay. Now, so this is like negative 1 over 1, right? What I can do now is just the butterfly method and solve. So 10 times 1 is 10 equals negative 1 times K minus 2. So it's going to be 10 equals negative K plus 2 after I distribute that negative 1. So if I subtract 2 from both sides, that would give me 8 equals negative K. So K equals negative 8. That value for K would give me two parallel lines. Okay, that took up a lot of space. But let's look at the second problem. Second problem is similar, but this time it says find the value of K so that line C will be perpendicular to line B. and we're going to use the same coordinates as we did for the last problem for line B. Okay, so it's the same thing, except for this time the two slopes are not equal to each other. The two slopes are the negative reciprocal of each other. So let's use that formula that we talked about earlier, where if we take the slope of line B and multiply that times the slope of line C, we should get -1. Okay, so let's first find the slope of line B, which we did earlier. What was the slope of line B? 2 minus 4 over 0 minus 2. I got my sign wrong on that one. We'll have to go back and correct that in a little bit. Okay, so I have no one here to correct me, so I did that one wrong. It should have been 4 minus 2 over 0 minus 2. No, I did that right. I'm just kidding. 2 minus 4 over 0 minus 2. I was right the first time. Shouldn't have doubted myself. Okay, so 2 minus 4 is -2 over -2 would be a +1. All right, so slope of line B, we already figured that out, is +1. So I'm going to write that right here. Okay, slope of line C, I have to figure that out. That's going to be -5 minus 2k over k minus a -4 has to be equal to -1. All right, so that's just going to be -5 minus 2k over k plus 4 equals -1. I'm going to put the -1 over 1. Now we can do the same thing that we did earlier, butterfly method. So that would be -5 minus 2k equals, I have to distribute that negative to the k and the 4. I'll just go ahead and write that step out. Okay, -1 times k plus 4. So -5 minus 2k equals -k minus 4. All right, so just solving for k, I'm going to add k to both sides, which will give me a -k. And I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So -k equals a +1. So flip the sign everywhere. K equals -1. There we go. That would make those two lines perpendicular. Now, that's all fun, but I am still thinking I made a mistake up here on the first example. So, and it's not the one that I thought I did earlier. So if you can come to class and tell me what my mistake was. Let's see, what should the reward be? I think the reward will be 5 tickets. So come to class, tell me what my mistake was in the first parallel problem, and I will give you 5 tickets. All right, so hopefully that one mistake didn't confuse you to death, and you are able to do your 7-ish problems on your own. Good luck.